Welcome to this edition of Wake Up and Live with the Arts. I'm Sue Johnson, your host for this edition, along with James McGilvray, our videographer. And not with us, of course, is our editor, Lester Bryant Sr. But we are all here to welcome one of Cleveland's newest playwrights, which I'm sure you will recognize as I introduce Richard Asbury. You have seen some of his works up and coming now, and he has three in particular that he's been working on for the past couple years, and they've all begun to have stage readings, and we're getting to the point pretty soon where we're ready for full productions. So Richard, our three plays that are under development that you've been working diligently on include The Emperor of Lincoln Street.
Yes, my first play.
Time to Go Home.
Yes.
And Drums of Zanzibar. Return to Zanzibar.
Drums of
Zanzibar. And you have had a stage reading of The Emperor of Lincoln Street back in the fall of 2016, which was really well received. And it's pretty close to being ready for full production. Then recently, over in Cleveland Heights, with your playwriting group, what was the play that you showcased over there?
That was Drums of Zanzibar. It was a 15-minute play.
Mm-hmm.
It had kind of a Rod Serling ending.
Okay, yes.
And it dealt with another conflict between husband and wife. And
And this conflict was included what?
It was based on ambition, about what their two different perceptions of ambition was.
One from the husband and one from the wife.
And
yeah.
they're two different focuses on what was really important in life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so in the play, as you say, it does end with a surreal quality, a Rod Serling. If there's anybody out there who is not old enough to remember Rod Serling, I forget what he was in Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone.
And you have to watch a station like Me TV to pick up all the old broadcasts. But he was a genius, and he died fairly young as an artistic person. But anyway, these three plays are your babies for the time being.
Right.
I know you are in the background busy writing on other projects.
Right, I have two others right now.
And tell us a little about those under development.
One is about police brutality.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to give any more away.
Of course.
And the other one has a title of Black and Blue Rhapsody.
Okay.
And it deals with black people looking at life,
mm-hmm.
and how it has or has not changed over the last 30 or 40 years. And they're both short plays.
Okay, and so we look forward to being able to do those in the near future,
Hope so.
whenever they're ready. Okay, now this evening we are going to have two of our actors do a reading of a couple of scenes, one from Time to Go Home and one from The Emperor of Lincoln Street. And we'd like to introduce one of the newer actors to Wake Up and Live's Actors Studio. His name is Donell Funderburk. And Donell, welcome. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in acting and what some of your dreams and aspirations are.
I got into acting because it's like a passion of mine. I love movies. I always liked movies growing up. So, and I figured, one day I'm going to do that. I'm going to be on a big screen and be able to age basically on screen. And that's how I fell into it. And I just went out on a limb. I had stopped working, stopped my full-time job, and just went head first into it.
And you means you're crazy like a lot of actors are.
Pretty much. I'm a loner, so, I spend a lot of time alone and, just working on my craft.
And your creativity.
Yes,
right.
Yes. Need a lot of alone time for that creative juice to get flowing.
Sounds good. And we'll come back and talk with you in a little bit. Now, we also have with us Miss Tamicka Scruggs, who will be reading the female roles this evening for the two plays. And Richard, set us up a little bit because we're going to start with The Emperor of Lincoln Street. This is a scene between the two central characters, Nappy, or Napoleon is his whole name,
Right.
and his girlfriend Janetta. Can you set up what we're going to be
Yes.
hearing?
What you're going to see is a scene where Janetta has convinced Napoleon to go to Jamaica with her to relax and enjoy his life. She has done this based on the sort of conniving of his brother and sister to get Napoleon to get ready to retire.
You're better known as Nappy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Nappy to retire. He's 68 years old, and they want him to retire. And he's somewhat dictatorial. So they want to gradually ease him out of the business. So that's the first scene you'll see. And the interchange of that. The second scene is, in A Time to Go Home, is a conflict between the husband and wife of what is the goal and what is really important in our lives. The male character is on a mission. He's on a crusade. The female character is about love and about us and what are we going to do about our lives. So those are the two scenes. Hopefully you will see the conflict between the two characters and realize where they are going and the message they are sending to the audience.
Now it's interesting, you almost have a theme that runs through your stories. Usually couples, married or unmarried, conflict between them. One has ideals in one direction and the other has ideals in the other. So it'd be interesting to see how these play out. You also bring a lot of your military background into play. You have world travels, you have, how long were you in the service?
21 years.
And which branch?
Navy.
Navy.
Yeah,
Okay.
served East Coast and West Coast. Had the opportunity to do some side travel that a lot of people didn't have.
Right, so you are fairly well traveled, you have the military experience. Of course, you have been and are married and have kids, so you bring a lot of your life's
Thank you.
background into play. And we also mention that in theater is about bring some of your real life background into your character, into the plot, the theme of the story, because that makes it easier to tell than if you were trying to write completely from total imagination. So we're going to start now and introduce Donell to my right and then Tamicka to his right, who are going to begin with reading The Emperor of Lincoln Street, the scene between Nappy and Janetta, who has finally convinced him to go to Jamaica to relax because he has trouble giving up control over his empire. And we'll come back and talk about Lincoln Street in just a minute. So whenever you're ready.
More coffee?
Absolutely. I've never tasted better coffee in my life.
Well, our Blue Mountain coffee is said to be the best in the world. It's raised up here in the hills over there. The only coffee to rival it comes from the mountains of Ethiopia. They brag that they actually discovered coffee first. Are you beginning to relax, honey?
Yeah, babe. The weather down here, the pace of life, and you have helped me unwind in a way I've never experienced before. Why did you ever leave?
Well, like we say down here, you can't eat sunshine. Well, politics and powerful people keep the money in a few hands. So my husband Nigel and I decided to take our chances to the States.
You two were brave to leave this paradise. Weren't there any jobs here?
Oh yeah, servant jobs. We were too well educated and ambitious for that. So we left. Remember I told you how we lived in a crowded apartment in New York City? Then we started our own accounting firm. Nigel died at 45 years old, cancer. I came to Jefferson soon after that to get away from the rat race of New York and to learn the banking business. This will always be my home. I'm glad I could finally convince you to come and share it with me.
I was a fool not to do it before now. We had some great times together, but nothing like this. Thank you, babe, for finally convincing me to do this.
You know you need this. You almost died over some radios. Nappy, you don't have to face every challenge yourself. It's time for you to enjoy the life that you made for yourself. What would I do if you had been killed?
You wouldn't have kept living?
Honey, I would have been hurt deeply. Do you love me, Nappy?
Baby, please. Why do you women give your men these tests? Here we go with these impossible questions. What was I wearing on our first date? What did I order for our dinner on our second date? What was the music playing on our first dance? I feel like I'm back in the army or back in high school. Honey, I love to look at you. I love to hear your voice. I love to watch you walk. I love your scent. I need you to feel complete. Yes, I care for you deeply, or I wouldn't be here. I need you, honey. Are you about to hire a preacher, tie me to a chair, and rope me into marriage?
Nappy, be serious.
I am being serious. I need you deeply, honey, but I'm just a crusty old man with a small empire to keep in place. Anyway, I'm not good enough to be your husband.
That's a lie. I'm not asking for your hand in marriage. I know you love me, but Nappy, you have shown me the inner beauty you possess. The caring, loving person that is under your shell of gruff toughness. You have shown it to me, but no one else. Why? Your brother and sister need some of that love. You've told me you had a son. Will he get some of that love if you two meet again?
Babe, I became what I needed to be for my family and to make it. Mina and Leo were kids when they came to me. If I had not driven them, we would have starved. All we had was my valet tools and my drive. I've told you about it. I had to be tough. We're talking about the depression years. Without my toughness, we would have died.
But Nappy, do they need that now? They're grown folks.
Yeah, but they are soft. Leo would rather write someone a letter instead of getting in their face and getting them straight. And Mina, she's so caring, but she thinks we're running a welfare office. She'd get a devil a second chance if he cried and whimpered enough. I care for both of them. What do you want from me, babe? A written testimonial?
I want you to show them that you love them by letting them get from under your thumb.
Okay, babe. They have this time that I'm going to run the operation. If that's what showing love is, I'm willing to do that. Now, let's go to this beach and get some sun. And you tell that cook to make us some grilled grouper, yams, callaloo, and some of that thick soup for dinner.
Very nicely done. Now, Richard, you notice he doesn't say, or he can't say, I love you.
That's the point.
Would you elaborate on that a little bit?
I put that in the play because I was sitting at a party one time with a bunch of men my age, and we all talked about our fathers. None of our fathers said, I love you. It's part of that generation.
It's a generational thing, and I would imagine your parents were reasonably in the Depression era.
Oh, yes, they were. They were born in 1918, lived through the deepest part of the Depression.
Right, and true of my parents as well. They were born 1920, and they came up under, unlike modern times where now you're very expressive. Mother, daughter, father, son, and all that tend to be a lot more communicative and expressive.
Right. I also have to admit that I borrowed it from my idol, August Wilson.
Yes.
Because there's a line in there where he tells his son, I don't have to love you.
Is this Troy when he's talking to...
Talking to his son, I don't have to love you.
Yeah.
My job was to take care of you. My father said the same thing. I've seen that play 4 times, and every time I've seen it, the men in the audience are crying during that section.
Mm-hmm. And you know, August Wilson, and please, audience, be very familiar with August Wilson as a modern day or a contemporary playwright. He passed away rather young, but you will see a lot of his works performed in Pittsburgh, which is a 2 hour, 15-minute ride away, Also here in town, Terrence Spivey, who runs the Long Ladder, I can't remember the entire title, company, and he's quite a well-known director. He does some August Wilson work, so please audition for August Wilson plays, hopefully get cast, and above all, go see August Wilson plays when you have the opportunity, either here or in Cleveland. Now, you took a line from August Wilson.
A concept, not a line.
You're right. And your whole play is about this man, Nappy. He's from that era where he cannot let go. He has fought tooth and nail.
Correct.
Even to the extent of alienating his
own
own family,
brother
and sister.
Correct.
Tell us about that alienation a little bit.
Nappy takes charge of his brother and sister when his parents died of tuberculosis in that period of time when that was going on in the 30s, in the 20s. He picked up his brother and sister when they were 10 or 12 years old and took responsibility for them. And he became more of a father figure than a brother figure. And he came to this town of Jefferson because his grandfather had left them a cabin. And that's all it was a cabin.
At that time, yeah.
And he came there with the only tools he had, which was valet tools, cutting hair, knowing how to sew clothes. And he took that and built it over time. It was based on two black men that I personally knew.
Okay.
That showed up with the only tools that they had were servant tools, and they built them into businesses.
And being a servant, being a laborer, again, that was an era of the 20s, 30s, and 40s, pre-war. It was a little different when the guys came back from the military, but not that much, where there was no such thing really as a lowly servant's position. You did what you had to do as a work ethic to survive for yourself and your family. And that's the way history was back then, which, again, you viewing audience, if you're on the younger side, you may not be familiar with what it took to live and to carve out an empire, because Nappy actually owned several businesses.
Correct.
And pieces of property.
Correct.
And so he's very busy trying to hang on to them. It's a mission of the old way of thinking with the newer way of thinking. And of course with Nappy, he has a little trouble giving up his old ways of thinking.
He rules with an iron fist because that's the only way he knows how to rule.
Right. And there are other characters in the play. What's his name that is his buddy?
Q-Stick?
Q-Stick.
Yeah. Q-Stick is a former professional pool shark who is Nappy's aide-de-camp, or his right-hand man, who also deals with the under-the-table operations that are a part of Napoleon's empire.
Yeah, and there are a couple of shady, not so sunshiny characters in the play as well. So it's the kind of play that we'd like to encourage. If you're a production company, if you're a theater, if you're a freelance director, or actually working under the auspices of a whole theater group, consider inviting Richard in to do one of his plays and present it, hopefully as a full production, or at least give it a full stage reading and or workshop the piece. And a lot of actors, playwrights, don't realize that if you were in another city, let's say New York, which is typical, you might workshop a play a year or more. You take it around, and groups, it was like focus groups, respond, react, make suggestions, until the playwright gets it into the position where the director, the theater company, feels that it is ready for a full production. And I've got news for you. even when the play is in full production, be it opening night or within the run of the play, you may still be getting rewrites. And Neil Simon was famous for bringing in last minute scene changes, opening night, a couple of nights after. So playwriting is a dynamic activity. It goes on between the playwright, the actors, the director, and to some extent the theater, production company. So keep that in mind, that you don't just write a play, hand it out, and say, here it is, I'm ready to go. And speaking of ready to go, we have a second piece which we would like our audience to view. And this one is called Time to Go Home. So we are going to take a look at Kurt and Cassie as they talk about their problems.
Don't worry, honey. You're beautiful.
Funny. Real funny. You get enough?
Yeah, I got enough. You?
Of course, babe. Kiss me. You got that far away look. What's up?
Your crusade. You survived an attack, and I'm glad, honey. But you've made your point. Now, let's go to San Diego.
Why talk about this now after making love?
You could have been killed.
But I wasn't. I'm too good for those homeboys.
Kurt, is this fight really yours? I know you're not stupid enough to take on an impossible mission. You can't right all the wrongs in the world. You've got a mother with Alzheimer's, a sister who's so depressed she seldom gets out of bed, and you already have thousands of dollars tied up in this thing.
Babe, you're right on all accounts, but I'm just about to crack this nut. The school district has agreed to allow me to offer kendo in the athletic programs. My women's self-defense class is bulging at the seams. My gun safety classes are busy. Babe, they killed my dad. I have never quit anything in my life. You know that.
Yeah, and Aguilar has his eye on you 24/7. I'm afraid to be in this house alone when you're at work. I don't care how many alarms and guns we have. I'm afraid. I'm more afraid now than when you were deployed. At least then you had a crew of guys to back you up. You're out here alone. You're not the law here.
There is no law
But
here.
who made you law?
You know men. Men need a mountain to climb, dragon to slay, or damsel to rescue, or their life has no meaning. This is my mountain. Aguilar is my dragon I must slay. I get Checo and one of his boys to come up for a while. Then...
Kurt, that's temporary and you know it. I love you, but this rock is too big. You'll never get it up the hill. John has been trying to break down Aguilar's game for years. What makes you think you can do it? These poor kids, Aguilar gives them a way to get money. You don't.
It sounds like you didn't believe in this thing from the beginning.
I always believed in you, but honey, this is a bridge that has gone too far. They were planning to kill you too. Your father stood up to them and look what happened.
Cassie, I gotta do this.
Nefung, why must you do this?
Don't call me those sweet Thai names. I must do this. I left my father for almost 20 years. If I had been here, maybe this would have not gotten so bad.
You don't know that for sure.
Cassie, I gotta do this. Look, I'm a military man. We fix things. This place needs fixed. I'm making some progress. I know I can't fix it all, but I can at least do here what I did in Iraq.
This is not Iraq.
These people are my people. They need help. When we were in Zanzibar, we helped those small shell villages defend themselves against marauders, terrorists, corrupt Sunni overlords. The same tactics we use there can be used here. I've done it. I know it works. I can save some ragheads in the desert. I can save my folks here.
All right. All right. The police are patrolling more. The neighbors are working together more. But this is one tiny corner of this little city. You can't compete with the money that Aguilar can put on the street. Darling, you're a warrior. not a politician. You've done enough. I'm afraid for you and me. I want to go home. They've tried to kill you 2 times. Let's go home.
But,
This crusade of yours, it's an impossible mission. It's a bridge much too far. Look, we can pack up everything in a day or 2 and just walk away from this mess. You didn't retire after 20 plus years at war overseas to come back to go to war here in the States.
okay. Okay, I'll do it. Start packing. First, you go get the renters out of our house. Then I call sis and tell her to start looking for a place for mom near her. I get a nurse for mom here for the next 30 days. I'll rep everything and meet you back in Diego. I wish I could have brought you here in its prime. Jefferson was a good place to grow up. Everybody had jobs. No real overt racism. High school sports was the highlight of the week. How did it become this?
Sweet one, I know this. You're just one man. I'm going to call your police chief friend and ask him to do more patrols around your place while I'm gone.
Yeah, I'll call Toby and ask him to stay a few days to keep an eye on you till we're ready to leave. I'm going to ask him for a couple of his dogs to patrol the perimeter of the dojo until just before I leave. Babe, you're right. I might be fool enough to get myself killed, but I never want my foolishness to get you killed.
Honey, I want you alive for the rest of my life because I'm bringing you about a son in about 6 months.
Oh.
Okay, you glanced.
Huh?
And you just had the pleasure of seeing Tamicka Scruggs read the part of Cassie and Donell Funderburk read the part of Kurt. And if you are interested in auditioning or contacting these actors, we'll have their contact information on the bottom of the screen. And I always say that if you cannot reach our talent directly, give us a call at wakeupandlives with an S at gmail.com, and we will put you in touch with our talent, including Richard Asbury, and we will give you his email address also. But if you're interested in Tamicka and Donell as actors in your project, by all means, you got a little bit of flavor, a taste of their abilities. And this is just from one, maybe 2 reading rehearsals, and this is the first time they've met in person was this evening. And that's true of a lot of stage readings, in that you don't meet all the actors in the script until you actually show up on stage. And it's not like a full, production where you are rehearsing weeks and weeks in a row. But you get the flavor, and these 2 did a fine job of exuding the flavor of the scene. And these are just 2 scenes, one from Time to Go Home and one from The Emperor of Lincoln Street. Now, before we go on to The Emperor of Lincoln Street, who is this Aguilar in Time to Go Home?
He is a Master Chief, retired Master Chief Petty Officer, who is a friend of Kurt, the main character, kind of a mentor for him. He has retired. He owns a security business now. He has many people that were in special warfare, because these 2 gentlemen were in special warfare. Many of them go into the security business. And he has raised security dogs also. And they have a role somewhat in the play.
And he mentions that about the dogs, was that patrol?
They patrol the perimeter.
Okay.
Good guard dogs that once they walk around an area and, let's say, mark it, they have no problem with being let out to patrol that area.
Right.
Because that's the nature of the way they are trained and the way they think. And those 2 dogs do have a role in the play.
Of course. Now we're going to have some real dogs do the...
No, we're going to
allude to them.
Pipe in the sound effects.
Okay.
Okay, the sound effects of them barking, and then
growling
Yes,
and what have
yes,
you. Okay.
yes.
Now, you may have noticed that all of the plays, the three, The Time to Go Home, The Drums of Zanzibar, and The Emperor of Lincoln Street, you'll notice they all take place in a fictional city called Jefferson. And we decided Jefferson is kind of in Michigan.
No, I didn't say where. It's a Rust Belt city.
More like Pittsburgh, kind of.
It's a Rust Belt city because
Okay.
some of the characteristics of Nappy I picked up from a gentleman I know in Illinois, another gentleman from Indiana, some of the people I knew from Pittsburgh and Washington, Pennsylvania when I grew up. I just say the Rust Belt because to me, that whole Rust Belt culture has a personality.
Of course, yes. So, and Jefferson, how did you happen to come by that city as the city to run through all of your plays?
My mother's maiden name is Jefferson.
Okay.
I wanted to have something
Give her
to remind me.
homage.
Correct.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, so that was it.
Well, that sounds delightful, and you've been real busy. And again, we want to reiterate that his plays, Richard Asbury's plays, are available for stage readings in various designs and, of course, full productions. So we want to encourage you to get in contact with him. And with the new plays you're working on now, when do you project that they might be ready for revealing to the public as readings?
We're ready now.
Oh, they're
And
ready.
what
What
are
are
the
the names of the two pieces that are under development now and about ready to go?
Right. One of them is a police violence, one called What Do You Think?
Mm-hmm.
The other one is Black and Blue Rhapsody.
Okay, now just out of curiosity, are they related to Jefferson City also or somewhere else?
No, yes, the Black and Blue Rhapsody is. But the other one is, it doesn't state what city it is. It
Okay.
just says a city in the Northeast.
Okay. And are these one acts or two acts?
They're one-act plays. They each have 3 scenes.
Okay, so again, if you'd like to review the scenes in terms of thinking about them for readings and productions, by all means contact Richard Asbury or me at Wake Up and Live's Actors Studio, and we will have that information across the screen. Richard, we'd like to get a little human interest in our interviews. Tell us, how did it happen you got involved with playwriting? You come from a business background, a military background. How did you get involved in playwriting?
Well, I always wrote letters when I was in the military, and the ladies that I wrote said my letters were beautiful.
Okay.
I also
Notice he said the ladies he wrote.
I wrote poetry in high school, and I let that go. And when I decided to retire, my father had died, and I mentioned the circle of men, and I saw a similarity. And I said, I want to say something about that, and I want to say something in a venue that I can get to black people. And I saw plays as the best way to get that message to black people.
And so that is how you began. Now you also have had, I guess you want to say, an interesting course in your journey because, and you can talk to promising playwrights, you took a couple of classes.
Right.
Tell us about your playwriting classes and how that has helped you in your journey.
Right. I started out with a 99-cent book, How to Write a Play.
Okay.
And went through that. And then I collaborated with the Ensemble Theater. They have a writer's workshop. It's free, and it's once a week. And you bring your work there and get feedback. Because many of the people in the group have had local plays produced. Some of them are actors who have done voiceovers for years in various venues. So they know a good play because they've delivered good plays. So those are the two. And this fall I'll be taking a course from Kent State University with Michael Oatman, who at one time was writer in residence here at Karamu.
At Karamu.
Yeah.
And we are at Karamu, and we certainly want to give them a shout out because we're here in the Hannah Lounge. Leonard C. Hannah was one of the big contributing factors to Karamu's development. And we have been, to our delight, able to tape our show here for the past couple years. We hope we will continue our relationship and, do some more Wake Up and Live with the Arts shows here at the inimitable 100-year-old plus now continuing African American theater in the United States. Now, you will hear that also there's another theater in town, the Cleveland Playhouse, who mentions that it too is a 100+ year production company, but it does not limit itself to African American oriented plays. And Karamu has put diversity into its offerings. So I don't care what color you are, what religion, whatever. When you see auditions for Karamu, be sure to come try it out and see if you can get cast, because they do stellar work here, award-winning work here at Karamu. And Tony Sias is the current CEO and president of Karamu here at East 89th and Quincy. Right on the corner, can't miss it. There's parking, fenced-in parking, so it's real easy to access. So we're going to get ready to close out this segment for this evening, which has showcased you, Donell Funderburk, and you, Miss Tamicka Scruggs. Happy to have you both here and appreciate the fine readings with just one and a half read-throughs that you have done, and bringing the plays alive, because here again, folks, the purpose of the readings is for the playwright also to hear his or her words come alive from the page. That's very important. We all know what it's like to have words in our head. I remember being much younger, and when I would have conflict scenes, I would imagine what I would say to that person, in my head. Oh, I had it all laid out as to what I was going to say. Open my mouth and something entirely different would come out. Nothing that I had rehearsed 100 times over. I'm going to give it this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other. No, the playwright must hear his and her words come alive from the page. And you can help this by supporting the playwright's work as you see it, the works done in and around Cleveland. Thank you, Tamicka. Thank you, Donell. Welcome to the Wake Up and Live Actors Studio. Tamika's an old pro, and she has starred in a couple of our other productions, including Richard's works. So Richard Asbury, you notice I'm no longer calling you an emerging playwright.
Thank you.
You have reached the ranks of the playwrights who now are considered available in Cleveland, and you can be contacted, and you will write plays that meet the audience's, expectations, interest. That's a good word. So much success to you, and any way that the Actors Studio, of course, can help you, that's our job.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, everybody who's here, and of course, James, our videographer, and Lester Bryant, who will edit all this and make us look fabulously good. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight. Stay tuned for more editions of Wake Up and Live with the Arts. And as we love to say, be sure to wake up and live with the arts every day. See you soon.